If your protein powder tastes exactly like cake batter, there's a non-zero chance it might actually be cake batter, allegedly. But also, the lab results are not even in the same universe as the label. I run a supplement manufacturing company. I've been in this industry for over a decade. And when this video about Holmes Nutrition showed up in my feed, I felt a very specific emotion. Vindication. The kind you don't actually want. If you've never heard of Holmes Nutrition, here's the setup. It's a small, Sacramento-based protein brand. Not sold in big box stores, not on Amazon, mostly local. And everyone who's tried it says the same two things. One, it's the most delicious protein powder they've ever had. And two, it tastes exactly like cake batter. The bag even encourages you to bake with it. Mix it with a little liquid, microwave it, and you've got a protein mug cake, which already feels like we're flirting with a boundary. But the real hook was the macros. 22 grams of protein, 3 grams of sugar, 4 grams of carbs. For something that tastes like dessert. People were obsessed. Gyms were using it in smoothies. Customers were driving to pick it up from the founder's house. And then one Reddit user did the most dangerous thing in the supplement industry. They asked a question. They sent 3 different Holmes flavors, chocolate cake, lemon cake, and cinnamon crumb, to a third-party lab. And what came back was not a rounding error. You see, 2 videos hit the internet recently. One from
Penguin Zero,
which is how this reached me, and one from a smaller creator named Falfin, who did the deep investigative work that was referenced in Charlie's video. Falfin traced everything back to this original Reddit post that showed these results.
Instead of 22 grams of protein, this protein powder had 21 grams of carbs instead and only 3.4 grams of protein per scoop.
That's not a discrepancy. That's an identity crisis. One woman in Falfin's video said she'd been training 5 days a week, carefully tracking protein for years, and found out she'd basically been celebrating every workout with a scoop of cake batter. A single egg has more protein than this $75 bag of protein powder. At that point, this stops being about gains and starts being about risk. Here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. That original Reddit post goes up on March 3rd, 2025. Then on March 27th, the same user posts an update saying Holmes Nutrition has removed all protein powders from their website. People start checking the site, and instead of an explanation, they find this. Unfortunately, we've encountered an unexpected issue with the manufacturing facility for the protein. We are currently searching for our 4th manufacturer. The protein market is flooded. And that message stays there for months. What's strange is that if this were just a supply issue, you'd normally still see product pages. Out of stock, pre-orders, wait lists, that kind of thing. Instead, the protein category just disappears. And that's when something else happens. Local gyms in Northern California start selling it again. Not online, not nationally, just quietly. Directly, and very locally. And through all of this, Holmes Nutrition never addresses the lab results. Not on their site, not on social, nothing. Now let's talk about the bag itself. There are some spelling errors on the nutrition panel. Dietary fiber? Look, that alone doesn't prove fraud, but it does tell you this label was made in-house, not through a professional regulatory process, and wasn't reviewed very closely. Then you've got non-dairy creamer listed as an ingredient, with no breakdown of what's inside it, which is actually required under federal labeling rules. And the sugar declaration, they list sugar, but not added sugar, which is also required. So now you don't just have macros that don't match reality, you have a label that doesn't follow basic compliance. The Reddit poster originally suspected amino spiking, which is a real issue in the protein industry. But Falfin, in her video, walks through why that explanation doesn't really fit here. If this were amino spiking, standard protein testing would still read high protein, because the nitrogen from those amino acids would register as protein. But the lab results came back with only about 11% protein by weight. So that's not spiked. That's not protein powder. So what you're left with is the simplest explanation. The nutrition label just does not match what's in the bag. This is the part where this stops being supplement drama and becomes something more important. When people buy protein, they're not just chasing vibes. They're making decisions about their health. They structure meals around these numbers. They track macros. Some people are managing blood sugar. Some are buying for diabetic family members. Some are trying to lose weight. Some are trying to gain muscle. And all of that trust is built on one assumption, that the label is real. When the label is wrong, you don't just waste money. You make the wrong decisions for your body over and over for years. That's what makes this so unsettling. Because if this was just one bad batch or a single bad actor, the internet would move on. But the volume of people saying they'd been using this for years, that's a lot of silent damage. And it also creates something worse. It makes people stop trusting the entire industry, which hurts the brands that actually do it right. Now here's the part that made my stomach drop when I saw those videos. Back in 2023 and then into 24, 2 completely separate customers came to my company asking us to reverse engineer Holmes Nutrition. The first one told us, "We've been buying this Holmes Nutrition protein powder. We love it. It's the only protein our kids will eat. These are fit, healthy parents. Just a normal family that loved the product." They also pointed out something I thought was strange at the time. The bag literally had instructions for turning the protein powder into a microwave mug cake, which is not a sentence you normally hear when someone's describing a protein powder. So they wanted us to reverse engineer it. Same flavors, same base, but with a cleaner brand. And in those days, we said yes to a lot. We were like, sure, we can do anything. They could not do anything. My brother runs R&D for a manufacturing company. He's extremely good at what he does. And I'm not just saying that because he's my brother. We sent round after round of samples, tweaking sweetness, texture, protein systems, processing behavior, and nothing worked. Every sample came back with the same feedback. It's better, but it's nothing like Holmes. Finally, my brother came to me and said, "Jake, I cannot make this product exist with these ingredients and these macros. It doesn't make sense. Either I'm missing something or the label isn't real." And I knew he wasn't just frustrated. If he said something doesn't add up, it doesn't add up. So I had to go back to the customer and say, "Look, we can't recreate this product as described. We're gonna have to refund you." And they were unbelievably gracious. They literally told us to keep some of the money because they know how much time we had put into it. At the time, internally, we basically came to the conclusion, the label is not real. We couldn't prove it. We didn't send it in for lab tests. We just had experience and the physics of food. Then later that next year in 2024, a second customer came to us. They were running a healthy baking business and using Holmes protein as the base ingredient. And this time I was more direct. I just told them, we tried this already, we couldn't make it work, and off the record, we don't think the label is accurate. I watched as panic set in on their face. And that was that. So when Charlie's video popped up, and then Falfin's, and then I saw the lab results, I didn't feel surprised. I felt vindicated, and I hated that we were right. Here's the uncomfortable part. I don't know anyone at Holmes Nutrition. I don't know their intentions. I'm not claiming motive, but I do know how this industry works. Protein demand is at an all-time high. Whey prices have gone up to where they've never been. Manufacturing capacity is tight, like airplane middle seat tight. Margins are under pressure. When those 3 things collide, you get what's known as the fraud triangle. Pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. And sometimes it's not even malicious. Sometimes it's just someone who is way in over their head, making decisions they shouldn't be making. But the end result is the same. A label that doesn't match the product. Once that happens, everything else becomes a mess. Regulatory risk, consumer harm, loss of trust, and eventually, the internet. And the part that always hurts the most is this. When one company does this, it makes every honest brand pay for it. Because now every consumer that's aware of it starts asking, can I even trust this industry? And that's a fair question. So what do you actually do with all of this? Here's my advice from being on the inside of this industry. Number 1, be suspicious of miracles. If it tastes like cake batter and claims ultra low sugar, ultra low carbs, and high protein, that's not impossible, but it is rare. Treat too good to be true as a bright yellow light, not a green one. Number 2, look for real third-party testing, not lab tested in tiny font with no follow-up. Actual COAs you can access. If a brand can't show you finished product testing, that's information that should raise an eyebrow. Number 3, buy from brands that can answer basic questions. Where is this manufactured? Do they do in-process testing? Who writes your labels? What specs do you test against? If the only answer is, it tastes amazing, You're buying marketing, not quality nutrition. Number 4, if you're a brand, do not freestyle labels. I'm begging you. This is not the creative writing section of the business. Labels are legal documents. Treat them like it. I'll link Charlie's video, Falfin's video, the Reddit thread with the reported lab summary, and Holmes Nutrition's site updates so you can review everything yourself. And if you're a brand owner watching this thinking, cool, I would like to avoid becoming an internet case study, I do consulting on formulas, sourcing, and compliance sanity checks. Link in the description. Like, subscribe, and please, if your protein powder tastes like birthday cake frosting, ask one follow-up question before you build your entire macro plan around it. Because the only thing worse than getting scammed is getting scammed and thinking it was your fault that you weren't shredded. Thanks for checking out Bottom Line. I'll see you next time.